What the hell is in those bags?
Rabid Weasles.
Are we going crazy?
No, it's that crap on them tanks! That goddamn chemicals! It's all over everything!
Stupid asshole!
Watch your tongue, boy, if you like this job!
Like this job!
Not people. Brains.
I mean, I got something to say, you know? What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Mister, there's 100 of those things out there.
100?
Welcome to the Rabid Weasels Podcast. I'm your host, Tinman, and my co-host, William, here is with me. And today we have, returning for a second time, it's Mr. Gary Smart. How are you, Gary?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Excuse the very sore throat.
Oh, but it's all good.
Yeah, very husky today.
It's all good. It's all good. Now, this for anyone who's watching on YouTube, this is the first one that will be on YouTube, as long as it works. But yeah, so Gary, we got you on basically because in July there was a bit of news regarding the actors of Return of the Living Dead, mainly Beverly Randolph and various other people, and a lawsuit popped up. Now, I couldn't podcast, me and William couldn't podcast because I had technical difficulties due to Spotify. Thank you very much. So we haven't really discussed it like we normally would. So we thought, Gary, get you on because, you know, you've got a big history with Return of the Living Dead, go back very, you know, with the actors and for years. So we thought, let's discuss what's been going on, man. It's absolutely crazy.
I think one day there'll be a Netflix drama about this, or a documentary, I think, about the ins and outs of Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, God.
What happened, yeah.
The people versus Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I don't think it's called The People. It'll be something, yeah.
A person.
But yeah.
Yeah, so back in July, 7th of July, there was... is it a lawsuit type thing? Yeah. So, yeah, well, sorry, 7th of July, ROTLD Originals was formed on Facebook, I do believe, first, and then Instagram. Now that is Beverly and the rest of the remaining actors that we know of have come together and basically gone, whoa, hang on a minute, Living Dead Media, who apparently own the rights to Return Living Dead and various other things, ROTLD Originals have basically said, yo, you're using our likeness, but you haven't paid us a penny towards it, or haven't even considered asking us for it. Now, as far as we know, is from that there was a lawsuit to be like, right, let's get this sorted and get this get the ball rolling. And from far as what I can gather, Living Dead Media, came back with, no, you don't own anything. We own everything. You're damaging our name. That's what in basically what it started out as. Yeah. And then, it's got a little bit messy since then. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that, gents?
Yeah, I think that's probably, it's kind of a strange one, really, because I think we've talked in the past, haven't we? Like, Return of the Living Dead's kind of been out for nearly 40 years. And it's only really in the last probably 5 or 6 years any kind of merchandise has come out on it. So I don't think it was probably a big issue for the cast at the time and key members, because it kind of was a cult film and just lost, really, until the DVD came out, I think, 2001. After that, I think there was a fan petition, wasn't it, to get the DVD out originally. Yeah. So I think it's been kind of like a little sleeper thing where there's been not a lot. There's been the odd shirts here and there, primarily Tarman, primarily Half Corpse. I know that William Stout was very, very kind of onto it in terms of obviously the use of the likeness of Tarman, because William owns the rights to the image of Tarman. Also, he owns the rights to the actual logo of Return of the Living Dead in the film.
Oh, wow, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, and also you need a medical supply logo as well. He owns.
Oh, very good.
So he was very kind of like, really kind of like quick on shutting people down if they hadn't asked permission. I don't think he had a problem when people asked. He didn't have a major problem at all. But when we didn't ask, he would go, he'd go around conventions and like pull kind of like, kind of traders up who were selling merchandise. Very professionally and politely, of course. But at the end of the day, it's his brand, it's his baby. And obviously, and based on what his deal on the film would have been he owned those kind of copyrights at the time, being quite clever at the time.
Yeah.
I think probably what happened with the cast is back then in '85 or '84, there wouldn't have been kind of the whole marketing kind of there is now with merchandise. So there probably wasn't anything in the contracts in terms of obviously likenesses.
Yeah.
You know, there wouldn't have been, because there wouldn't have been action figures on that film or T-shirts, and all the T-shirts, as we know, from the 80s were the original poster.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the cast probably had a right to say, you know, what's going on, and at least dig a little bit deeper into who owned the rights. And I was saying to you earlier on, you know, I'll stop talking in a second, but when I did the book originally, the rights owner at that time, which I still believe is probably true to a degree, was Anatoly Friedus, who had bought the rights from Tom Fox, and he made 4 and 5, and he also owned the remake rights of the first film. So he was very much owned the brand, and he was allowed to do what he wanted, obviously, with it then, because obviously did the 4 and 5 films. You know, we can all judge those films on their own merits or not. But he still, you know, he kept the franchise going in that sense. So when I did the book, I reached out to Anatoly, you know, and asked, could I, you know, do the book base? And he gave me his blessing. So we had no issues at all. And I said to you, I know when More Brains came out, nobody asked Anatoly. So I think it's that kind of element of if you ask, you know, kind of get, you know, on these kind of things. And because it was so vague, and I just don't think anybody's asked anybody in the last 6 years. So we had a lot of merchandise and a lot of T-shirts and stuff come out, and limited edition posters featuring the cast and crew. But nobody's at the people who allegedly own the rights, 'cause obviously we don't know really, no one knows what's going on really, we can all surmise, haven't really engaged with the cast and crew, which I think is strange personally. Why you wouldn't engage with those people, you know. You know, you'd want to get them on side, even from selling it for you. You know, get Beverly in a T-shirt. You know, get Tom Matthews, you know, holding up a bloody, you know, a poster.
Yeah.
You didn't get, you know, especially as they are massive on the convention circuit. Why wouldn't you involve them? Because that first thing I would do, I'd get him in my marketing instant. I wouldn't get some bird with a tits out. I'd get the cast, not their tits out, of course. So I get the cast promoting the T-shirts and promoting the merchandise. So I think that's strange why it was never done in the first place. And why people are pissed off a little bit.
Yeah. So when Living Dead Media reached out to me because of the Instagram page before, I think could have even been before the podcast, possibly, or maybe the podcast was just starting by that point because I had a different name then. So I helped with the Instagram for a while, and the first thing I noticed was that their Instagram were not following the key actors.
Yeah,
and I thought that's strange.
Yeah,
it's an Instagram about you know, and a website about this first movie.
Yeah,
and not one of the actors, Tom Matthews, Beverly Randolph, Miguel Nunez Jr. Yeah, none of them. And I was just like, wow. So I followed them on that page for, you know, because like, well, you need these are the main ones. And, you know, anyway, we didn't, that ended that little foray into Living Dead Media.
Like Linnea Quigley, your poster girl for marketing.
Absolutely.
She'd be perfect as an ambassador because of you know, her status in the horror community in general, you know what I mean, in regards to a scream queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's still, you know, very attractive. You know, she can pull those shirts off at the Avatars. You know what I mean? And it's just, I just find it. That's the one confusing bit. He's like, why wouldn't you tap into these people?
Now, the bit that I really we spoke about this before. The bit that really I find strange is that if Living Dead Media do own the rights, then are they reaching out to Warner Brothers? Because you're having Tarman dressed as Batman.
Yeah.
And Wizard of Oz. And
see, that I think we talked about this, but that's the biggest thing for me, which I don't like. And I think all power to Living Dead Media if they own the rights.
Yeah.
It's great for IP to have. I mean, we'd all kill for it. I'm sure lots of, you know, companies would kill for that IP. Great, brilliant, well done, you know, and well done for getting it. But Return of the Living Dead is a very kind of unique brand, and it should be protected because you've got that competition with Romero instantly, got that competition.
Yeah.
To have that, it's got its own little world and its own franchise and its own fan base and its own possibilities, endless possibilities that franchise has got because of Trioxin itself. Forget about the Tarman and the Half Corpse and Ernie and Bert. Trioxin is your key thing there to spread that story, basically.
Yeah.
So, to then start having the Tarman swinging from trees with the Half Corpse as Tarzan, and to have Alvear out next to him, and I don't get the logic behind it at all, because it's not what Return of the Dead's about. And I said to you earlier on, we know we've got the Linnea Quigley stripping, we know we have, it's a very iconic scene on, with Trash and Tombstone, but it's not a softcore porn film. And to have very attractive ladies with their breasts out and their t-shirts tied up in little bows, and to be holding a tin of salsa sauce from Tarman with the next to the half naked bodies, that's not what Return of the Dead is about.
No.
And I think that's for me, and I know, as much as Dom was a bit of a randy old bugger, I know that Dom wouldn't appreciate that, in terms of, because he saw Return of the Dead as a family.
Yeah.
And he saw it as a generational thing as well, that, he loved that when people came to conventions for a signature, there were kids there, and it was that generational thing of children watching it because their parents watched it, their grandparents watched it. I think it would have really upset him. I think genuinely would have upset him that, the franchise was being used, and, and sex was being very much linked to it.
Yeah.
Ones are exploiting it. So I don't understand the marketing strategy at all. And I said off there earlier on to if again, I'd never own it, but if I owned the rights, and the IP, I'd be getting straight into novels, and I'd getting straight into graphic novels. I'd be expanding that anthology, because that's what the fans would love that. And I wouldn't be going, making remakes, stuff like that. Or, if I did, I would go into a production company, I suppose Kickstarter, but I would be going down the novel route, and and especially graphic novels.
Look how well your Revenge.
And people love that. And we did a limited version of it, but I know there's other stories. There's James Cameron's own script, which is the Four of the Dead, which is about Return of the Dead in the ice. That could be a great graphic novel. There was even a Bingy's sequel, Klug Gulliger's sequel. That could be a graphic novel. You've got those scripts there and those treatments, or you could add them to a degree, or at least the idea, and you could expand it and make graphic novels there. I mean, me and Christian Sellers wrote our own a script years and years ago for Return of the Living Dead. Again, we're going to do it as a graphic novel, and I don't know where it is now. And it was about, it was basically, it was respecting the franchise. You had Beverly write her own script called, I think it was a Return to the Living Dead again, and about the cast going to a convention, and basically,
I love that story.
And the actual trial cancers were real because based on a true story. That would have been a great graphic novel. And it's like, that's what I would be doing, and I'd be literally, and I said, because Trioxin is your fucking literally centre piece of that franchise. You could go back to the 1960s when they first obviously covered up the story of Night of the Living Dead. You could go, what happened in Louisville after. You could go, what happened to what Glover was doing, the trials of the cannabis kind of stuff. The Tarman, who the original Tarman was, all that. But it hasn't been done. It's just all that's been done is salsa, barbecue sauce. But some amazing stuff as well. Again, I'm going to give them credit, and I'm not here to diss them, because I think if they own it, not a problem. Super 7 figures are brilliant. I love the retro style of them. Yeah. I know the time that came out a few years ago was actually copyrighted to William Stout, but was it a Mock Time? I think it was called.
Oh, the classic in the blister pack figure.
That was. It wasn't MGM. That was William Stout licensed. Yeah. The new one that's come out recently, Trick or Treat one, the 12-inch one, is obviously the Living Dead Media. Yeah. Or Return of the it's called.
I prefer the Amok Time one,
Yeah.
Actually.
But I'm saying, it's like, those are great things still, though. The little cartoony figure of Tarman's brilliant. The pissing me off when they call it Trash and Suicide. It's not Trash and Suicide. again, that's an issue. That's somebody who doesn't understand that poster, because that poster was designed based on the punk scene and also stills, mixing up, as much as, Brian Peck obviously is a no-go area regards to now, but the character of Scuzz obviously is important. Suicide didn't have a Mohican like that.
No.
That's those combination of Scuzz and Suicide and the punk scene. Yet they call it the fucking. I'm sorry. They call it the.
No, go ahead. You swear all we want.
The trash and suicide. It's not trash and suicide. Just call it fucking poster zombies.
Just call it
poster male. You poster punk too. And I think that when you don't understand the franchise and the history behind it, it annoys me like rotten, basically. And I think, but they're still cool figures, I think this new NECA ones, the clothed ones, they look brilliant. They look great. I wish we had a Don, figure and an Ernie figure and with a half corpse box set. That'd be brilliant.
Oh, imagine it.
Those are not an issue with that. I think that's what, as a fan base, you want.
Yeah.
I just don't get the, as I said, the knickers and the pants and, the £2,000 trainers, and I don't get all that stuff.
No. Now, touching on them figures, I really like the look of them, but because it says trash and suicide, I don't want them. I haven't bought them because I look at them. I want to, because I'm a collector of in and out type of figures. If I like them, I'll buy two. Yeah, me too. One open, one stay sealed. But I would look at that and it just annoy me because it's like, who's decided that this was this?
Well, we did it with the Super 7 ones, didn't they? The smaller ones, we did. Yeah. And then re-release them currently. I think they've released them glow in the dark. They've released them in like some fluffy case now, and I get back to sort of Super 7, and again, they do a brilliant job.
Yeah.
And again, give them credit. Action figures is your way forward and stuff like that. It's just the other stuff, and you said the Batman, Tarman, and I don't understand the logic. I don't understand who sat there and gone, what's going to be a really good idea? Let's get the Tarman on a tree and pretend he's Tarzan. The fans are going to love that. It's really quirky. I don't understand. Let's get him dressed as Batman.
Don't get it.
And then let's not worry about Warner Brothers suing us or DC. I don't understand where that. I'd love to know the marketing team who were involved in it, and them discussions. Is it a big team? Is it just one person? Multiple people? What is the strategy behind it? And why did you not think to use the original cast? Yeah, I know they've got Tony Gardner involved. I know they did brilliant. Tony did the half corpse. Yeah, Tony's a great guy. They got him involved. But again, you've got key people who are still alive. Yeah, I mean, Clue only passed away a couple of years ago, and same as Jimmy. There's people there. They could have done some really quirky stuff for them guys. They could have. Yeah. And I said, some really quirky adverts or social medias, and really quirky kind of promos.
Imagine.
But and they didn't do anything. Why wouldn't you get Alan Troutman like advertising the Tarman mask? Why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you get them advertising the trash figure?
That's right. You could even get, if James Karen, obviously he passed away quite a few number of years ago, but imagine him doing his Pathmark style advert, but for Return Living Dead. That would have been amazing.
There's loads of opportunities there, and it's like, and I know for a fact the Return Dead cast and crew aren't, they're not after the big bucks. They love the franchise, and they do anything. They've been great to me. I've known them 17 years, 18 years, something like that, and they've always been brilliant to me. Never asked a penny off me or supported me. And I think because at the time I was more involved than I am now. Yeah, I saw somebody who cared about the franchise and was willing to promote it, and obviously being close to Don was a bonus, and being close to Beverly. But I don't think they'd be asking for like millions or even thousands of dollars. I don't think they'd be asking for.
No,
I mean, someone probably asked for a bit of merchandise, probably. A couple of pins and a couple of T-shirts. You know what I mean? And I just think it's just weird that they've never. And that's where I start worrying about it then. And again, I'm not here to diss or criticise too much, obviously, Living Dead Media, because if they own it, brilliant. But that's when I start worrying, going, why haven't they even spoke to like me? Why haven't they spoke to you? I know they did originally. Why haven't they spoke to Christian? And we read the books on the film, the whole full history.
Yeah.
And when I spoke to the lead person, Living Dead Media, he didn't even know about the books, so didn't know our involvement at all.
It's crazy.
And I was a bit kind of like, it wasn't that kind of like, do you know who I am kind of thing, but there's an expectation that you would know who we were, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We did two books, we did the documentary, Countless podcast, and we did a graphic novel. Yeah. And we didn't have a clue.
No.
At all.
It's like me when I finally decided, after years and years that, this is probably my favourite horror movie of all time, that I'm going to do an Instagram about it. And then it went from there to a podcast. Through that, I got to know you. And I, like you just said, you did this book. Oh, you did this. Yeah. You're part of the documentary. Oh, right. Okay. That's it. You just learn. You get to know who people are. But the fact is, if he doesn't know, and like I say, wasn't following the key actors, I don't know. It's so up in the air right now. It
is, yeah. And it's just, I said, there's other people other than me and Christian. There's like Mikey Perez, there's Tommy Hudson, there's people like that. Bill Philpott, who directed the doc. There's lots of people who have kept the franchise going.
Yeah.
I know William, obviously, with the websites as well, and the groups. But no one's been approached to support and push it, and it just doesn't make logical sense on it in my eyes. I just don't understand why. I mean, Diana Bannon's not been engaged, and she, is a very kind of like champion for Dan's work.
Yeah,
and returning that he's Dan O'Bannon. It's not Russo. I know John. I spoke to him loads of times over the years. He's a great guy, but it's not his Return of the Living Dead.
No,
he wrote the novel. It was great, but it was a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And this is Dan's work, and it has to be celebrated. You look at Return of the Living Dead. Look at Terrifier. It's now called Damien Leone's Terrifier, isn't it? The first one wasn't. Right. You want to call it Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead, basically.
Yeah.
It should be called. It should be retitled, because it's his baby, it's his genius, and he's not getting any credit in all this new stuff at all.
No, and it's his first. I mean, it was his first movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, first directorial.
It's his first. I mean, what an absolute,
But why is he not being celebrated by these people? Why is he not on the website as a whole page dedicated to him? That's what I'd be doing. That's what I'd be celebrating. The genius behind it. And again, I'm sure these Living Dead Media will listen to this. I'm sure they will. And I said it's not a slight on them, but it's more about understand the franchise, understand the fan base, understand the work went into it. I mean, we know about the on-set troubles. We all know about that, from the books, and the doc. Why aren't you, doing little? I've been doing little dramas on that, reenactments on it. I mean, it was such an interesting production. That I wouldn't be wasting money, raising money for a Kickstarter for a new film. I'll be doing it. I'll be doing a little kind of like short about Dan O'Bannon, throwing a can at Kluger's head or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make it funny and quirky, and it's just not. It's not being treated with the respect it deserves, I think.
That's right. Yeah. That is right. And so to further on down from there, obviously this lawsuit came out.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's good. No, this we love this. I love this. It's nitty gritty. So ROLTD Originals comes out. They file the thing about Living Dead Media, about the likeness rights. And then obviously Living Dead Media come back with, no, it's ours. You're damaging our name.
Yeah. And it's $1 million, was it? That was suing for?
Yeah, it was $1 million. Yeah, that's right. And then only a couple of weeks ago, very shocked to find out that it was dropped.
Yeah, I was worried for Beverly. I genuinely was. When I thought maybe shit. Because even though it wasn't in their original contracts when they signed it, maybe there was some loophole with regards to the characters. I still think the characters are around by Dan O'Bannon. It very much says on the script, Dan O'Bannon characters created by. I thought basically they'd lost, in a way that it was, Living Dead Media owned the rights.
Yeah.
And basically Beverly, the mission she was on, unfortunately had failed, but that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
No, this is the crazy thing is that, you know, we hear that the case was dropped, and the fact, I mean, this is a documentary by itself.
Yeah.
And who they got to represent them is amazing.
Yeah.
In ROLTD, you know, the fact that it's, what's his name now? Oh, God.
Larry Zerner.
There you go. Thank you, William. I knew you'd be there. You're my backup. Yeah, the fact that you got Shelley bailing him out, or bailing him out, not even bailing him out, but, you know, kicking butt for him. Superb. So where it goes from here, no one, I suppose we don't really know, but like we said before,
the case has been dropped, so there's obviously something going on.
Yeah.
And I think when we know, I know, again, all I'm saying now, which is obviously public information already, because it's on the Instagram.
Yeah.
It was made quite public, and it's a public document. If you go on to...
Bloody disgusting, it's there.
Yeah, over here we call it Company's House, don't we, regard all patents, kind of like trademarking.
Yeah.
And the concern was, what Beverly had unearthed, was the fact that the trademark had been applied several times by limited media for Return of the Living Dead and failed several times, allegedly.
Yeah.
Say that, allegedly. And then the trademark they got in the end was for makeup effects, kind of like, you know, like Halloween makeups.
Yeah.
But, that's just really confusing to me. It's like, how can you sell an action figure and license a T-shirt for makeup effects? If you wanted to do makeup for Return of the Dead and over the Tarman makeup kit, brilliant. Like, you know, it's great, but that's confusing.
Yeah.
And that was obviously unearthed from Beverly. And I think, I know I messaged you the other day, and what really confused me the other day was, and again, I'm not a legal expert, and I might be completely wrong here, but the new Steelbook clearly states on the back, with the Return of the Living Dead, copyright MGM. Clearly, all rights reserved. Clearly states that as a title franchise, the title. So why are MGM still releasing via obviously multiple sources now, or still they're obviously licensing it? Because obviously MGM were bought out by Amazon, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, are they? Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Yeah, they got busting obviously was bought out, but they're still releasing versions of that, and it's not Limited Media releasing that film, but they own the rights to the film. So why aren't they releasing Blu-rays?
So
licensing to Shout Factory.
So does that mean that if I haven't got that the 4K Blu-ray, my eyes don't even see, you know what I mean? Even with glasses, 4K is pointless. So does it not say Living Dead Media on the box at all?
No, no mention of it at all.
Well, there you go.
But again, I don't know. Maybe it's differentiation between film. But if you're saying you own the rights to make a remake of that film and to make a sequel of that film, that means you own the rights to the film.
They claim Living Dead Media. I've got it written down here. Living Dead Media claim to own the copyright to the original screenplay and the underlying script for the original movie.
Yeah, but let's just stop there. The original screenplay was written by John Russo.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Steiner, and that's what. It's not Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead.
No,
so that may be a loophole there. You know, if you go to the history, it was originally written by by Russo to be directed by Toby Hooper.
Yeah.
O'Bannon got involved as director and rewrote everything basically. So the original film was going to be Russo's original script, which is a direct sequel. Set in, I think it was a chapel, something I think it was, you know, again, same kind of concept. People blocked in a building. He then wrote that as a book instead. So he went away and wrote that as a book. So if you own the rights to the original screenplay, it is not the Dan O'Bannon screenplay, which was made. And obviously, so that's where the characters are in. So your Tinas, your Tarmans, your Ernies, your Half Corpses, they're all in that script, but not in the Russo script.
No.
Yeah.
That's where maybe that's where the loophole is regards to these things. That's maybe how Living Media have got. I don't know, but that's a little bit kind of like concerning.
Yeah,
that phrase itself. Why does it not say, you know, the 1984 screenplay written by Dan O'Bannon?
Do you know what? This might be where Larry Zerner has got them on that point. It probably is that point because
that might not be fair on Living Dead Media. They might have gone into this thinking, playing devil's advocate here, going, you know, again, we all know about the history of Return of the Living Dead. It's so fucked, basically, in terms of the Romero camp and the Russo camp, and then we all know about the history with Orion going bust, and then Lorimor Pictures taking over it, who then were bought out by Warner Brothers, and they were a wing of Warner Brothers, weren't they? And then the rights going every 3 years to the Fox family, who were involved with Living Dead Media, allegedly. I don't know how involved they are. And then every 3 years, it going back and forwards from Fox estate to anybody they sold it to. To Lorimor, who bought it. Lorimor then licensed it to TriStar for the third film. So that's why the franchise has never gone anywhere. And then what happened then is Tom Fox got it back in 2005 or 4, maybe. Yeah. He then got involved with Anatoly Fridas, and then they made it 2 films, and then it went back again. But I was led to believe at that time by Anatoly that he bought those rights from the Fox estate. Because obviously Fox died in 2006, I believe it was. Yeah. Well, I was led to believe when we did More Brains, there was a little bit of kerfuffle in terms of Beverly and the documentary, and obviously Anatoly. But I was led to believe back then that Anatoly bought the rights to those films, and sequel rights as well, and remake rights. So that's where I'm confused how it's gone back to. And I know Anatoly's not been involved in any of this at all. He hasn't. No. I mean, he's been quite unusually. I know a few years ago, do you remember, he tried to sell the rights on eBay, do you remember? For the rights for the films, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So, again, I just... That's where maybe, Living Dead Media may have been screwed over on this. Maybe, again, Devil's Advocate, they've gone into this thinking, this is, Return of the Living Dead, we buy that script. We can then use those rights, and not understanding the history a little bit. Maybe they've been duped to a degree, or not duped, maybe confused. Yeah. And it's blew up in their face because obviously their lawyers now come in and gone, hang on a minute, these characters aren't in there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have, okay, like you say, Devil's Advocate is they've gone, no, we own the rights, and then they've gone, actually, guys, you don't.
You've got to have some pretty big balls to do what they've done. And, you've got to, and you've got to be really kind of, brave to do that, because if you're selling an IP isn't just selling it to, Chaz and Dave down the road making t-shirts, you're talking Triple Street Studios, you're talking Super 7, you're talking, obviously, NECA doing stuff, NECA doing the Art and the Clay figures, aren't they? Is it NECA? NECA
did the Toonie Terrors.
Yeah, so NECA. Yeah. You're seeing it to, Terror Threads, to Brightfoot Rags. These are big fucking companies, These are big, well-established in the horror community companies. So it's not like back when it first started and they were licensing it to, independent small companies who were doing t-shirts, which is great. And I think getting the franchise alive, and it made money for a lot of people. It's a different game now completely. So you've got to be really confident. And again, maybe that's why they're confident. Yeah. But it'd be interesting what happens next, really, because I think the franchise will end up being another Friday the 13th and just die.
Oh, God.
It would just, because if you haven't got the cast support, you're pretty much fucked, really.
Yeah. That's it. I hope it doesn't end up like Friday the 13th, because, it's people like us, as we try to keep it alive as best we can. I mean, William, you run about your 2 Facebook pages as it is. Big advocate for 2. But yeah. Hey, what do you think, William? What do you think?
This is going on YouTube, so I want to keep it PG. It's kind of a real cluster truck when it shouldn't be.
You can swear, it's good.
Okay, it's a real clusterfuck when it shouldn't be. But then again, that's the problem, is that back in the day, when they put these movies out, they didn't think long term of, someone else may end up with the rights to these movies. It was just release the movie, put it out, end of story. But now you fast forward 40 years later, and Return of the Living Dead is just caught in this sort of legal battle between people who claim they own the rights, and then people are like, no, you guys actually don't. Yeah. So. And like you said with Friday the 13th, it was that that constant back and forth that's resulted in Friday the 13th being in purgatory, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's kind of the same with Return of the Living Dead because, you know, think about it. Next year will mark 20 years since the last two Return of the Living Deads, you know?
That's crazy.
Again, we've had the books, we've had the documentary, you know, we've had all this other stuff, but if this doesn't get straightened out, you know, like Gary said, it's just going to be stuck in purgatory, you know, till who knows how long.
And I think that's a shame, isn't it? Because, you know, again, I'll give them credit, you know, in terms of obviously some stuff they've released, as I mentioned earlier on, you know, the figures, I think it's brilliant, the collectibles, I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on people who can afford, you know, because they're not like the £2,000 ones. It's, you know, the action figures. And I would love to see a whole range of Super 7 figures. You know, I'd love the next one. We did it with, obviously, with Robocop, didn't they? With Ed 209 and Mr. Kinney. You could easily do a half corpse figure on a gurney with Don. Easy do that. You know what I mean? It'd be a beautiful set, that would be a little box set. And maybe even have, you know, Bert and Spider standing around him as well, you know. And they're doing obviously recently with Trick or Treat Shooters, doing with Chainsaw Massacre on the dinner scene.
Yes.
It's easy to do that. I hope what's happened doesn't stop that.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. I spoke to Mikey Prez about this the other day, and it's really kind of, you know, when you kick yourself a little bit, and you know, because you don't push anything. We spoke to Don when we were closer many years ago, obviously, about his kind of like future and his legacy.
Yeah.
And Don had approached me and Adam about, you know, keeping his legacy going, about being, well, I don't know what you call it over there, but it was basically a power of attorney, basically, in terms of obviously his likeness and obviously and stuff like that, and his works. We never did anything with it because you don't think he's going to go anywhere, do you, really? You don't think anything's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, then, unfortunately, as people know now, it's public now, obviously he got dementia and obviously whatnot. But like we were, you know, I would like to know when we make a figure of Don, whose permission they're going to ask. Hopefully they're going to have the respect to ask Evan, his son. I'm hoping they're going to approach Evan and go, do you mind us doing this?
Yeah.
So that's really important for Evan. It's his dad's legacy, that film is.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see that. There's nothing more than I want than an early action figure. Because I love Don to bits, you know. He was a family, you know, felt like family to us. And he'd love that. Don would love that figure. I know he would love to have a little miniature version of himself.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I want to see that happen. But is it going to happen? You know, they released a figure of him a couple of years ago, and it was obviously distinctly dummies, I think it was, or something like that. And it was like 200 quid.
Yeah. I remember that one, yeah.
I would have liked it, but he wouldn't have been happy it was 200 quid.
No.
He would want his fans to have it. And it's like, I hope it hasn't stopped that next level, do you know what I mean? I hope it hasn't stopped us seeing those kind of things. And I just hope the cast get, you know, a bit of respect in terms of being asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did it with Romulus, didn't they? Have you seen, anyone not seen Alien Romulus yet?
I've seen it, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
You talk about now, yeah.
Okay. They did it with Ian Holm, didn't they?
Yeah,
They approached Ian Holm's wife and said, "Well, how do you feel about him reappearing?" And she was like, "He would have loved it. Go for it." You know. So that's what you'd want, isn't it?
And I think with even AI now, you know, you could, you know, if you're going to do, I know it's very dodgy to AI with actors, particularly. Yeah. But something like Don and Jimmy, you could, you know, you did a little remake of the film. You could put them on a little TV scene in the background. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Pathmark commercial with Jimmy on, a new one, just in the background playing, and something with Don you could. And I think they would have loved that. But again, it's understanding the franchise enough to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is my big, you know, I say it again, my biggest concern is this franchise has to be handled in the completely right way, where you respect what's come before and you expand it in the best way possible. So the Trioxin is the big thing to expand. You could do an anthology series on that, you could quite easily.
Yeah.
But also respect Dan's humour, respect Dan's legacy.
Yeah.
Quirkiness of Dan's scripts and his writing style. Don't have, you know, Dan didn't do Return of the Living Dead to emphasise that scene on the heads on the tombstone. That wasn't there for that reason. It was there for that character. Yeah. And about her and about this kind of like, you know, youth being destroyed, wasn't it, basically? And, you know, and all that kind of like hope and aspirations and suicide one, talking about death and whatnot in comparison of her promoting her body and whatnot, turning to be eaten alive, and then using that to a degree that contradicts herself, to attract the bomb. But at the same time, it's not an exploitation film about sex.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think there's a scene there when Tina and Freddie fuck. It doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's not about that. It's not aiming for that. None of the franchises actually. Even number 3. I know there's a sex scene in number 3 isn't the beginning, but it's not. That's more about their connection, isn't it? It's not about gratuitous. It's about their connection. That's why she loves him so deeply. She doesn't hurt him. Until it starts turning. But what I'm saying is the franchise is not about sex in the way of tits and ass.
Yeah,
sexuality in there is very important. Be important to the story, and that's what concerns me.
Yeah,
as well as Tarzan and Batman.
Very, very, very strange. Yeah, I hope, like you say, that it gets sorted out. I still want to see merchandise. Like I say, I want to see, but dare I say it, tasteful merchandise.
Yeah,
because I think that's what's been missing. We've had, the sponsors of our show, Hell on Shirts, they've done Return of the Living Dead stuff. They've bought the license to do it, and they've released some great shirts and stuff like that. And that's the kind of thing I want to see.
But do you know who's suffering as well? It isn't just the fans what are suffering. It's the people who have paid a lot of money to license.
Yeah.
There's the big boys like your Trick or Treat Studios. I know there's still they're not huge, but they've still got obviously financial backing.
Yeah.
Small companies who your t-shirt manufacturers or your poster manufacturers who have made stuff and licensed it in terms of paying quite a significant license fee. I know how much they are because I had discussed it with Living Dead Media myself.
Right.
And where do they stand now in terms of all this mess? So if I've paid thousands of pounds to Living Dead Media legally, all above board, contractually, agree, no problem whatsoever, and I'm selling t-shirts with Beverly's face on it, where do I stand now?
Yeah.
What happens to me now? If they've won, in that sense of likeness, does that mean my contract's still and void? Does that mean I get a refund? And that's not fair in Living Dead Media if they didn't know at the time. So there's always two sides to a story, isn't there? It'd be interesting if they wanted to come and talk to you one day about what their side of the story was, because at the moment they're not talking very vocally about it, and I'm surprised they haven't talked about it after this court case has been dropped, or the legal claim, whatever it is.
I did reach out to them before all this about coming on here and never got a reply.
See, I get during the process you can't do it. I get that.
No, this was before.
Even though we've been careful about discussing it too much, because obviously having some information which maybe isn't public. But now, obviously, Beverly's come out and said, blah, 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 online. There's been no response at all. There's nothing at all. They're still just advertising stuff. It's like... Yeah. It's almost... Their Instagram seems like it doesn't even noticed that such thing is happening. Maybe that's their kind of like, kind of a philosophy on it, just ignoring Beverly. But again, you're ignoring the key people who you need... Who the fans love. It's a family. Return of the Dead is, I was trying to say around about units. It's a family. Yeah. You're ignoring that family, really. You're ignoring the auntie and uncles, basically, of that family. Yeah. And
the cons. All the cons, And
the thing is, they're a united front now. And they've had their own problems over the years, what publicly spats online, Beverly and Jordan and whatnot. But they're united in this, they're all together. Couple of weeks ago, weren't they? And I don't know about Q&A was meant to be quite feisty. They did.
I've seen the link for it, but I haven't watched it yet.
So I haven't had a chance to watch it. I've been busy, but I'm going to watch it. But that's a force of reckoning now. Tom's a businessman. He left acting to become a businessman. He's a successful contractor. Regards to construction. Yeah, Julie's feisty as fuck. She won't stand for any shit. Jill won't. Linnea's extremely intelligent. Linnea's extremely intelligent. Linnea is. And I don't think people realise that about Linnea. John and Miguel are very feisty, you know, and they will stand up for that, and they love the franchise.
Yeah.
And then you've got Beverly, you know, she's like the mother of it all.
Yeah.
Who pushed it with the documentary, but also her husband's in the business. She's
Yeah.
still actively involved in the business, so she has connections. Beverly, she's not, and I think there's this perception she's a little housewife, you know, who gave back in '85. Nah, Beverly's very clued up.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and you know, there's obviously issues in that kind of whole world regards to Return of the Dead. You know, with, you know, Mikey and obviously Beverly and all kind of stuff, which is again, it's been online. That's been a little bit on Facebook and whatnot. But I think if everybody got together, I think there'd be quite a force. I think really. So again, I said, you know, that thing last week at the convention, those 6-7 people together on the stage. That's quite strong stuff, because people will not buy stuff out of respect for them, because it is a family. That's the difference.
I have seen, since the whole lawsuit went on, I read quite a few comments on Beverly's page, on the originals page and stuff like that, and people are going, right, I'm not buying anything from such and such no more until we know what's going on, and that's fair enough.
But that's fair enough. But it's unfair in a person who's paid the license.
Exactly. So
that's the tragedy in all of this. You know?
Yeah.
I know there's obviously lots of going on in the world which are tragic, but in terms of this very small kind of like element of what's going on, it's tragic for people who have actually paid a license fee, and it's tragic for Living Dead Media if they've gone in it, you know, completely legit and, you know, and wanting to, you know, buy this brand and buy the rights to this, and they've invested money in it. Great, but I said to you earlier on, you know, and I'm quite vocal about this. You know, I know they talked about making a remake and doing a little short film about, you know, concept art and a concept film.
Yeah.
But if you've got an IP like Return of the Living Dead, as much as it's hard to sell Return of the Dead, I think in some elements, I know that personally, you wouldn't need a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There's going to be production companies out there. There's going to be film finances out there. Any, you know, again, I don't know, William. I'm sure in the States there's these supermarkets with like low budget horror films for like $2 on the shelves. They've still got money. These people have. They still have money. You know, we get all the gangster films over here, don't we? And the low budget horrors. They're still like £3 or £4 million films.
Yeah.
Why would you need to raise 300 grand on Kickstarter? If you got IP.
And I believe, I think they got the quota as well.
They did, because people love the franchise. And again, no one bears it on the people invested, because, I mean, at one stage, I think it was a Kickstarter for the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was,
You know, again, it's, if you're selling the license to all these people, all this merchandise is coming out, and you've either got two options, haven't you? You've either got a license deal. Again, not an expert, but I've had conversations. You either have a lump sum, or you have a big lump sum, or you have a sum and a residual then based on each item sold with percentage.
Yeah.
Why can't that pay for your website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, me and William did an episode on the Brain Freeze, which was the Snow Kickstarter.
Which is basically Jimmy Carran's original story.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That was James Carran's, actually.
I don't think Jimmy would have signed that over, or I don't think his wife would have.
No. Hey. Sorry, my cats are trying to eat the guinea pigs. Hey, stop it.
But yeah, it's just that again. It's, I don't know, you know, why Return of the Dead in the snow? Why?
Yeah.
It's like, because we were talking with the guy who found the lost cut, talking about that. And he's like, if that's the best idea you could come up with, why do you have the rights?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I just maybe they got lucky, Living Dead Media. Maybe they, you know, at the time it was in the Fox estate, it was Russo. Maybe they paid a very small fee for it. I think the interesting thing about Living Dead Media was that originally, 5 or 6 years ago, they were very much about Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
They're talking about new films on that. They were working very closely with John Russo. That was all what they were talking about 5, 6 years ago. And suddenly, Return of the Dead sneaks into it as well. So Again, I think maybe they bought the rights of Living Dead off John.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You probably find somewhere. There's probably some documents online somewhere, some court somewhere where he bought the rights. And then suddenly Return of the Dead comes into it. But maybe again, what happened is, I'm surmising, they bought the rights for Living Dead off John. Brilliant. Make a few websites talking about a remake we did, didn't they? Again, we talked about. I remember the website being up about with them on there, and then maybe John went, "Oh, we was also returning the script I wrote as well," and then he suddenly been, "Oh, we own that as well now. We bought the Living Dead media rights.
Yeah,
you own Living Dead. You own the words Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead is originally from your script. We own that." And they've gone. I don't know. I'm going to give them some credit there.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we can see nothing out there regards to patent websites and trademark websites where you can get legal documentation which says they own the film rights. There's nothing anywhere, and that's never been provided to Beverly either. And now, if I had the film rights for Return of the Living Dead, I'd be doing this straight away. Here they are. I'd be handing them over.
Yeah.
I'd be handing that document over. I'd be handing over that certificate, which I've got my lawyer signed, and it's been handed over and signed off. I'll be throwing it in your face and telling you to bugger off, basically.
Yeah.
But that's
because you'd have the proof. You've got the proof there.
The moment you started slagging me off online and saying I was doing something dodgy about likenesses, again, not picking sides, I would have gone, here's a PDF, here's a JPEG, publish it on fucking my Facebook, on my Instagram, and gone, this is it, shut your mouth and go. Never happened.
Yeah, so with Larry Zerner doing the good work for Beverly, it kind of proves itself. But whether they knew or not, this is the thing, isn't it?
I think there's going to be a lot of victims in this. I think there is. And I think, again, as much as we've discussed, and and I know you were working with her at one stage, and I spoke to her. As much as they've made out to be the enemy here, because again, when you're picking sides and you've got Beverly on one side and Tom and all the cast trash, and you've got Tina and you've got Casey and Chuck on on one side, you've got Living the Media on the other. The fans are going to choose that side.
Yeah,
but actually, there's two sides to every story here, and I just think maybe when the time's right, Limited Media just put the cards on the table and just tell their side and go. And again, I don't think there's many maliciousness involved.
No.
Of course, there's money because everyone wants to make money.
Yeah,
I want to make money when we did the book and we didn't make a penny. But I love the franchise. But also, you thought, oh, maybe this might make us a few quid, so we can invest in the project. It never happened for us, because the franchise is very strange.
Yeah,
There's going to be losers on both sides on this, and it's going to be such a shame because again, my argument was always for Antoli. When people used to rip into 4 and 5, my argument always for him was, at least he's trying to keep the franchise going.
Yeah.
He never understood the franchise because William Butler wrote the scripts and they changed scripts completely.
Yeah.
Scripts kept to the original mythology and the rules kept to that.
Yeah.
Just have Don in there as a cameo, never happened, that kind of stuff. And then Antoli didn't understand it. Got confused, I think, as well himself. I think he admits to that with Night of the Living Dead, and just made those films, and but at least he tried to keep them alive. At least he invested the money into them. For fuck's sake,
yeah.
He didn't make a return. I fact that he didn't in terms of cash. So I can't fault people who are trying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People say off Hellraiser films. At least they try to carry them over. I don't mind that because it keeps the franchise going. It does. It keeps it in the. And no film's a shit film, really. You always find something in it. There's little bits of Rave to the Grave and I can't remember what the one's called now.
No, Necropolis.
There's elements that were quite funny, and quirky.
Yeah.
Parents being like bioweapons. That's
funny.
That's quirky. I like I can't remember. I'm getting so old now. I can't remember people's names. Is it Forsyth? Is it Peter Forsyth?
Peter Coyote.
There you go.
I was near. I like him.
Yeah.
I liked him in E.T. as a kid. So seeing him pop up,
with the grin.
You agree? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. but again, at least they tried. And again, at least Live Dead Media are keeping the franchise going because I know something the franchise did a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean,
definitely did it. No one gave a shit about it.
No. You said back in the day that merch was few and far between.
Yeah.
A few years back. You'd never find anything.
It didn't help with Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg slagging off the films. Because they were up Ramiro's backside.
Yeah.
It didn't help that didn't because again, there's nothing wrong with those films. I like my favourite, of course, is Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of respect for Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, I love Day of the Dead.
But to badmouth them.
Yeah.
And even Romero liked them. There's quotes from Romero where he talks about those films. He introduced the fucking films on a kind of horror kind of like nights on TV, in the States years ago. He introduced them.
Yeah.
So I just think it's kind of like I'm gonna repeat myself, but I think it's a shame that there's going to be lots of victims now, and it might just destroy everybody's hard work. It might destroy Living Dead Media at least trying to do something. Forget about the tatty stuff. Forget about all that.
Yeah.
Tacky stuff, sorry. We can forgive that to a degree. But at least, we've had the figures. But maybe it will stop Beverly being able to do anything now as well.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah. No, do you know what? I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
You've got to look at both sides of it. And again, we can, we're not in their shoes, are we? We don't know how much money Living Dead Media invested in all this. It could have been a fortune.
Yeah.
I imagine the legal fees would have been a fortune as well. What was going on?
Yeah.
You do not want the cast of your film, which you're promoting 35 years after or 40 years, to be ripping into you, do you really? They must have literally dropped the bollock when that happened. Imagine sitting there that day and having that drop. That your core people who you need have all ganged up against you.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you're the cool kid and then the whole school turns against you.
Yeah.
That must have been horrible for them.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
So I just hope it just evens itself out, because if not, as William said, he's just going to literally go to purgatory, and that franchise is going to float around. Or what might happen is MGM will pop up and go, "We own the rights. Fuck off, everybody."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're releasing figures and licensing them to NECA. Bye. That may happen.
Yeah, and all the little independent companies, like you say, have just got no leg to stand on. Maybe
everyone gets cease and desist and say your contract's nil and void.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. Yeah. Oh, well, let's hope it gets sorted out for the best way possible for the fans, for the little licenses, the actors, going forward.
Living Dead Media as well,
Yeah,
they're a business. At the end of the day, they need to.
Yeah.
It's not, we can disagree what they've done, but as I said, they're still an entity with people working for them who could be affected by it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, yeah, that's been fun. That's interesting. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, I'd love to get you back on again, Gary. Well, we would love to get you back on a part 2, but
when we find out what's happened, we were wrong.
I think so.
We were completely wrong.
Yeah.
And Romero owns the rights to the film.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get you back on, regardless of the lawsuit, because you were my very first guest back in the day. You were
Kerry, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Fair play. And
kiss.
Yeah,
that's it. That's right.
There was no kissing.
No, there was no video then.
No.
Oh yeah.
Thank God. We could sell that. License it if it was a video. Make a fortune.
That might tie in with some of the.
There we go. Brainstorming.
Oh, geez. Yeah. No. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on the old press and see what happens. See what the outcome is.
Yeah.
And then once we get a more clearer view, which we may not, I don't know. We'll come back and we'll definitely do a part 2 on that. 100%.
Yeah. Brilliant.
100%. So, anything, William, you want to add before we call it an evening or a day, depending where you are?
Well, since you're on, Gary, I just want to say, RoboDoc, great job.
No, thank you. It was literally the biggest nightmare of my whole entire life.
God, I remember when y'all first announced it. I was in like my second year of college.
Fucking hell, I was in primary school.
No, but hey, it was worth the wait. Y'all did a great job.
We're really proud. I mean, we're negotiating part 2 at the moment, which is interesting.
Nice.
And there's part 3 as well. Yeah.
Are you offering the distributors Oreos?
We should have gave Pete Weller Oreos instead. I just think it's it was a kind of like real stressful kind of like thing, but I think it was worth the wait for us as well. In the end, it was.
Yeah.
As much as we got a lot of stick for it, and again, that's why I'm kind of like I'll side towards people like Living Dead Media sometimes, in a sense of a business sense, because we got abuse.
Yeah.
We had the best intentions, and we still do. We have the best intentions possible, and some of the abuse we get online is just disgusting.
Why would you get abuse? What?
Oh, because the Kickstarters fucked us. They fucked us. Because
Right.
when we did Leviathan and Fright Night, the world was a lot easier place for independent documentaries. It was so easy to do. It was self-distributed, so we could make them ourselves, and we had full control over everything in terms of obviously the posters and the t-shirt. We could do what we wanted.
Yeah.
Once the world of documentaries changed, which it did about 5 years ago, and it was because of the likes of, we can get onto this story. This would be another podcast. This would be about your In Search of Darkness documentaries and stuff like that, which completely made millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That changed the whole world for documentaries, basically. So we had to go. You have to start going to distribution. Oh, well, legal world changes where regards to fair use. So, when you get distributors and you have to go to third parties, you lose your rights. So when we promised you a poster or a T-shirt 5 years ago, we can't do it now, or we've got no control to it or no money to do it. We have to then wait for the money to come through to do it. So basically, whereas the money would have been instant for us before sending the Blu-rays and license it to whatever, we don't get that. We still haven't seen a penny off RoboDoc, and that did very, very well financially. So what I'm saying about obviously talking about that now, being quickly in context, is like we get abuse and we get called villains when genuinely, hands on heart, we're not. We don't make we've not made a penny off these projects. There were labours of love. They were, our hearts and souls were into it. We've had tantrums and arguments. We've fell out with people over it. It's been so tough, and we're very, very proud of it. Very proud. But we can't control perception sometimes. And I think sometimes what's happening with Living Dead Media is we can't control perceptions based on, because they're not respecting the franchise in the way we want them to.
Right.
Respecting the cast the way we want them to. So, are they the villains? Probably not. Are they the victims to a degree? We don't know. Maybe they are the victims as well. Maybe they're just has been screwed over everybody else. So, I can have empathy there because we've been through it ourselves. We even got bits of abuse with the graphic novel Revenge of the Living Dead. We did 350 copies.
Yeah.
It was never meant to make money. It was meant to basically continue Don's legacy. It was supposed to do that only. We didn't want to make money off it in that sense, because we went, let's sell enough to basically pay people what contributed to it, in terms of obviously the artists and that kind of stuff, and obviously the writers.
Yeah.
And then also pay for the actual printing of it. That was it. That's why we did 350 copies. But yet we got abuse off some people.
That's crazy.
So we didn't make any money off that fucker.
No, man.
And it wasn't about that. I'll never re-release it now, I won't, because it was done. The whole point was just to celebrate Don's work.
Yeah.
It's done now. It's over for us now. And I love it. I love Jason's work on it.
Yeah, his artwork's amazing.
I never re-release it.
No. It's a beautiful, but I managed to get one. I think it was like the last few copies, just before we started talking properly.
Really?
I messaged you. I was like, "Oh my god, have you got any left?" And you were like, "There may be one on the website. Just go to the website." And I did. It was like, must have got the last one or last two.
Yeah, it did really well. It sold out, didn't it? And I think we had a few copies at conventions for Jason and obviously ourselves. But it's probably stupid. I know there's about 10 copies in storage still, but they're just sitting there at the moment. And we always keep some back. It's not about us scalping people.
No.
Keep them back because when there's people who come to us and go, I'm desperate for a copy, I'll do anything for it. I don't mind sending copies out to people.
Yeah,
I do it for free most of the time. But you do a bit of research for as long as they're genuine fans. We're not just going to scalp it and sell it. So we always keep some for those reasons, and for the cast as well. When people come approach us for stuff. But as I said, contact. But thank you for comments on RoboDoc. I kind of digressed and went off on a tangent, but
it's all good.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I think it's been a beast, but it was a very interesting learning curve on a lot of things.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, man. Right, so there you go. That is the latest episode of Rabid Weasels Podcast with me, Tinman, with William and Gary. Thanks, guys, for coming on. It's been great.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And last thing I've got to say is, whatever happens, don't name it after me.
You've been waiting for that all day, haven't you?
I always end it now with that. Excellent, guys. Right, see you all soon.
Thank you. See you later.
Spectacular results, sir. Very close to optimal placement. Well, sir, only 20 square blocks destroyed. Less than 4,000 dead, General. I wouldn't worry about the fires, General. The rain is taking care of that right now. Well, there have been complaints about burning skin, but I shouldn't worry. Minor irritation, General. The rain will wash everything away. That's correct, sir. All should be back to normal by morning. Yes, sir, I understand the President will visit Louisville tomorrow. No, we wouldn't want that to happen, sir. No, sir, this hasn't been very pleasant for anyone. Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Christ, it ain't dying!
I thought you said if we destroyed the brain, it'd die.
It worked in the movie!
Well, it ain't working now, Frank.
You mean the movie Live?